Have you ever met someone who believed they were someone famous? Now imagine this, three men all living in the same hospital, each 100% convinced they were Jesus Christ. Not figuratively and not in a spiritual way. They literally thought they were the Son of God. This isn't a movie plot, it's a real psychological experiment that happened in the 1950s, and it led to one of the strangest, most controversial studies in mental health history. This is the story of the three Christs of Ypsilanti. Our story begins in the year 1959 at Ypsilanti State Hospital, Michigan. This was a psychiatric hospital where people with serious mental illnesses were treated, or at least that was the goal back then. A psychologist named Dr. Milton Rokeach worked there, and he wanted to understand how people hold on to beliefs that aren't true, especially when those beliefs are tied to who they are. And that's when he met three different patients. Each one believed he was Jesus Christ. Most doctors would have kept them apart, but Rokeach had another idea. What if I put them together and made them talk? Would they realize they can't all be Jesus? Would they confront reality? Or would things get worse? Well, let's meet the three men. Clyde Benson, an older man who's quiet and confused. He used to be a concrete worker, but after his wife passed, he became more isolated, and eventually he came to believe he was Jesus Christ. Then there's Joseph Cassell, well-spoken, bookish. He believed he had special powers, and sometimes even sent letters to the Queen of England. Why? Because in his mind, royalty recognized divinity. Then the last man, Leon Gabor, the youngest, intelligent and intense, he believed he was not just Jesus, but also had secret knowledge of hidden worlds. He often challenged the others and got into arguments. Now imagine these three men living together, eating together, doing group therapy, and all saying, "I'm the real Jesus." It didn't go smoothly. They argued, they insulted each other, and sometimes they nearly came to blows. Each one thought the others were crazy. One would say, "You're not Jesus, you're a machine." Another would say, "You're under hypnosis," but none of them said, "Maybe I'm not Jesus." The human brain is powerful and stubborn, so Rokeach tried different methods to shake their beliefs. He asked logical questions like, "If you're all Jesus, which one of you walked on water?" He even wrote fake letters from imaginary people, like God or other saints, hoping to confuse them. But these men just adapted their stories to explain it away. They were deep in their own versions of reality, and instead of helping them, the experiment made things worse. They got more paranoid, more anxious, and more isolated. Leon started accusing the hospital of testing him. Joseph believed the others were being used by dark forces, while Clyde just got quieter, slowly retreating into his own world. And here's the painful truth. The experiment didn't cure anyone, because after 2 years, Rokeach ended it. He wrote a book about it called The Three Christs of Ypsilanti, which got attention, but also criticism. Why? Because many people felt the experiment was unethical. These weren't just test subjects, they were sick men, struggling with identity and reality. Putting them together might have been more harmful than helpful. So what do we learn from all of this? First, it shows how strong belief can be, even when it makes no sense. These men weren't lying. They truly, deeply believed they were Jesus. Second, it tells us something about mental illness. To someone with a delusion, facts don't work the same way. Logic won't just snap them out of it. And lastly, it raises big questions about ethics in psychology. Years later, Rokeach admitted he had crossed a line. He wrote, "I had no right to play God." He realized he hadn't helped them, but had used them for research. It was a harsh lesson, but it changed the way future psychologists handled vulnerable patients. The story of the three Christs of Ypsilanti is sad, strange, and completely real. It reminds us that the human mind is both powerful and fragile, and that identity, knowing who we are, is something most of us take for granted until it's gone. But maybe the biggest takeaway? When someone's mind breaks from reality, what they need most isn't a confrontation, it's compassion, patience, and ethical care.